Today, we're at Autohaus Hamilton, Porsche specialist workshop here in Sydney. And we're talking with the owner, Grant Geelan, about the Cayenne, first gen and facelift. He's got a lovely white GTS model in here. He's going to tell us what goes wrong with the cars, get up on the hoist and have a good look through it. Let's get into it. But first we have a quick chat about the latest Cayenne craze.
In America, when we did the Rensport, that guy had Transsyberia, a black with orange script, Transsyberia. Then he towed his GT3 on the trailer. There was a black and orange GT3 RS, so he had matchy. But I noticed the Rothmans, there was that guy with the Rothmans one as well. So look, it was a very, very hugely popular thing in America back then. So it's just it's massive now.
Yeah, there was one that turned up to one of your coffee and cars.
So there's a couple. So we've done a black one but we didn't do a lot of the work. We did bits and pieces on that. He's done like a lift kit and some wheels and tyres and some arch extensions and the rear tyre rack and all that sort of stuff. And then we've done Byram's one, which is again, he's done it's a silver car with blue livery and blue wheels. Again, lift kit, shocks, all that sort of stuff. So.
And his is a Gen 1?
His is a Gen 1 9PA. So they're all using Gen 1 9PAs or 9PA.2, the facelift of the 9PA. Yeah. No one here I know of has done a 92A, which is the second generation of Cayenne, yet that I know of. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that in America they're definitely doing heaps of them, but not here. Yeah.
And Porsche kind of pulled some of the technology out of the cars.
In the second gen, the 92A, yes, they're not as technically off-roady, I suppose. They're more of a city car than they are. The PA has got so much tech around off-roading and stuff in it, it's ridiculous. So yeah, it is certainly the PA.1.2. If you want to do the off-roady thing, is actually not a bad car. Yeah. Biggest issues you're going to see, the central locking motors in the doors mess about, but again, there's a number of suppliers now for those. They're getting a bit cheaper. They have some steering column issues with the alarm control unit, which basically when you put the key in, it recognises the key, and because it's got an electronic steering column, it all talks to one another, and there's some issues around all of that. But then again, we've figured out how to piss all that off and bypass it, so we can fix those problems. Then you've obviously got, if you've got air suspension, there's some issues around the airbags. Occasionally you've got some seals and a bunch of other things in there that shit themselves over time and they start leaking. And then what happens is, because it's got a slight leak, people don't realise that it's got a slight leak, and then the pump continually runs often and it burns the pump out. Yeah. And then, so in America they've tossed the airbag system away and put coilovers in. Yeah. It depends, if you're actually specifically looking for one to do the off-roading thing, I'd probably buy a coilover car and then do all your spacers and your upgrades from there. It's just easier, less to go wrong, more simple. Really, the engines in them are actually really, really good. So they've had the odd transfer case issue, but more around not the case itself, but there's a electric motor that basically activates the four-wheel drive system, turns it on and off, and you can do various things with it to help lock it up and unlock it and things like that. So the electric motors over time fail, and I think it's more so because their lack of use. No one presses the big off-road button, and so they mess up. But really, the odd suspension bush here and there, which is just wear and tear, you're going to get that with any old car, you know. They're actually pretty good. It's just some of the electronics, because they were so technical with everything, some of the electronics is a bit sketch, but other than that, they're actually pretty good. Yep.
So they had
a 4.5 first of all, so 4.5 litre V8 was the very, very first engine, and then they had 4.5 twin turbo, and then when they went to, which was just a normal multi-point injection motor, and then they went to a 4.8 litre direct fuel injection engine in the facelift car. So the 9, what we know as a 9PA.2, and so that had 4.8 litre direct fuel injection DFI engine. So again, on that particular car, over time we've seen the actual main high pressure pumps fail. We've had a few of those fail over time, but again, the engine itself pretty good. Yeah. The V6 versions, we're seeing some stretch timing chains on the V6, and some of the early V8s a little bit, but again, high Ks and probably a lot less maintenance than what they should have had. So if you've got a car, if you're looking to buy one, you'd probably buy one with some reasonable service history rather than buy one that's never been serviced and had no money spent on it, like most things, you know. Yeah. The better you look after them, they tend to look after you a bit better. Yeah. But in terms of the engines themselves, they're all pretty good. Like I had one, Cindy and I, my wife and I had one, and we put 450,000 Ks on it and never opened the engine, never touched the engine. Wow. So, you know, of course we serviced it all the time, but we never ever pulled any of the engine components apart.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good testament to how good they are.
So how did you find the interior quality kind of held up? Because as cars get older,
look,
plastics can...
To be honest with you, ours wasn't too bad. It was only the back of the front seats fell off because our kids kicked the shit out of them when they were young, and it was probably more self-induced than an actual issue, you know. Yeah. If the kids didn't kick them, they'd probably been fine. But again, same thing, you look after them, you clean them, they tend to be okay. Some of the plastic switches fell apart a little bit, but again, it wasn't really that bad. And again, there's now options, so you can buy that sort of stuff relatively cheap. It's not ridiculously expensive anymore.
Yeah. And what have you got here? Can we talk about that car?
Yeah. This one up here, yeah. So this is a GDS, 9PA.2 GDS facelift car. Obviously, cream in colour. This is basically a standard car, missing a bit of trim down there, I see. Yeah. We can go around the front. It's got cream interior. I mean, the pretty cool thing about these is you can open the glass. Not many people know about this. Yeah, wow. So it's a little secret. You can open this and stack stuff in there, or you can do the total. And the difference between the .1 and the .2 is that this has electric close. The earlier ones didn't have the electric. You still had to manually lift them. Yeah. So this is the soft, what they call a soft close and electronic, whereas the early ones, before the facelift, you had to manually lift them yourself.
Is there issues with that, with the motors and
again, no, the occasional gas strut, but again, most part, no. They're actually pretty reliable. We don't see a lot of issue. Again, 4 doors. It's what I was talking about is this, there's a latching motor in here. This is the most common thing that sort of acts up is the latching motor. Yeah. But the GDS has had more of a buckety type rear seat than the standard ones. So they're kind of fancy. It's more of a 4-seater than a 5-seater sort of thing. So. Again, these are the backs that I was talking about. They hold up pretty well, but these when the kids kick the hell out of them, they tend to break. But other than that, they're pretty good. Again,
they very much have the Porsche styling of the era, which is coming back around in style.
It is absolutely. So and they've got a automatic transmission. So I had a manual one, but there was only 5 manual PAs that I'd know of that brought to Australia, so it was kind of very rare. Yeah. But wish I still had it, but I don't. So, and then coming to the engine, this is the 4.8 litre direct fuel injection engine. So GDS was a naturally aspirated, and then they had the turbo version, so it was 4.8 with twin turbochargers. Yeah. So you could have it, and then there was a V6 version as well for the less spec car, not a GDS. So, and then there was just the non-GDS version as well. So there was a lot of variances back in the day.
Wow. So twin turbo V8, do you know what mileage that would do?
Well, again, we haven't seen massive problems like Byram's, for instance. I mean, the one that he bought. It's a twin turbo V8 Gen 1, very early car. Yeah. And again, it's never had an engine rebuild or anything like that. And I think it's done something like 180,000 Ks. So it hasn't had issues. So again, I think it's more about changing your oil and looking after it. And I've heard the odd ones had the odd turbo issue, but we have not. We service quite a number of them, and we haven't had that much engine type issue. Yeah. So they're kind of cool. We do have some of these plastic clips, so these little clips and things go missing, and some bits and pieces. But overall, I mean, look, this is not a new car. This is an old car now, and it's actually in quite good condition, as you can see. Are you going up? Yeah. Right. Can we do a walk underneath the sunker? Yeah. And they've got really big, again, in true Porsche tradition, they have really, really big brakes. So 6-piston caliper on the front and a 4-piston caliper on the rear. So really, really good braking system, incredible braking. So, as you'd expect from most Porsches.
How do you find the ratio of cost to service such a car like this compared to the entry-level price? Is that
Well, I think to be honest with you, I guess.
You can't really run them on a shoestring. So.
No, you look. They're not a car that you wouldn't be running on a shoestring. But then again, people are telling me that their Toyota Land Cruiser 100 series, if you're paying retail money for someone to service one of them, it's actually not that much different. So I guess it's hard. I live in my own Porsche bubble, so really it's a bit hard to comparatively say what the differences might be. But again, people are spending lots of money on Land Cruisers and things like that as well. So, all I can tell you is that they're not. While they're getting on, you got a vehicle that's nearly 2 tons, but it accelerates. The performance of one of these is quite staggering. Actually, they're very, very fast cars, really, for what they do, for and what they weigh. So again, they tend to be a little bit heavy on brakes and tyres and things like that, simply because of what they are. Underneath, so there's not a lot you can really see. They've got a big under tray, your engine, and you've got your transmission, then your transfer case. This is this little motor that I was talking about, where occasionally we've had a bunch of these fail, which then locks it up and unlocks it, the centre diff. And tail shafts, we do actually have in here. There's like a rubber bush in here. Occasionally they fail, so we've seen a bit of that happen from time to time. In the rear, they're actually pretty good. We really don't. The occasional front diff, the bushes here perish over time, but again, it's amazing. Like again, our car, our old PA, we did 280,000 Ks before we had to put bushes in it. So.
Yeah, and these are the airbags.
This is the airbag suspension, yeah. So that's exactly right. This is what they come with if it's spec'd with airbags. Yeah.
And do you change the tail shaft? It's the whole thing, or
yeah,
you just change
it? No, you can't buy. Because of how it's made, you can't buy. I've seen people modify them. I've heard people you can pull it all apart and modify it, but you've got to be really careful to get all your phasing and everything correct when you do that. Right. And the price of them now has come down substantially from when they used to be new. So it's actually not that expensive anymore to replace. And you just throw it's something like $700 or something for a tail shaft now. And I think they used to be like $2,500. Yeah. So again, stuff's getting cheaper as they certainly get older, and you've got alternatives. You don't have to buy. You can buy direct OE stuff now rather than having to buy it through Porsche. Yeah. Which makes it obviously a little cheaper.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. What else can I show you? Really, most of it's all. Occasionally, again, you get the odd suspension bush here that wears, and for the most part, they're pretty good. Yeah.
So they stand up for the weight, like they don't.
Yeah.
They don't go.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't just absolutely fall apart, and then it's all tragic. Like I said, 450,000 Ks in ours, and we maintained it, but we didn't have any major catastrophe. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. They're all, it's all solid. It's none of this is. So the PAs, 9PAs had a lot of steel arms and things like that, whereas the newer versions now are all aluminium, and so I guess they've saved on weight, but again, are they as strong? Who knows? Yeah. I know that the off-road packages that you buy to bolt in these things is big steel arms and a lot more robust sort of components, because it's assuming that you're going to take them well and truly off-road. So
are you doing any projects, off-road projects?
So we've got a couple coming up. We're just at the moment it looks like we'll be doing 3 cars back to back to back. So the owners are just basically trying to work out the most cost-effective way of doing it. So if they purchase everything as a group, then obviously the price gets cheaper, and you do it all together. The run that you get through there's some efficiency in all of doing it as a job lot or a bulk lot, I suppose. So I know that there's 3 coming at some stage.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for running us through it.
No problem. Welcome.
Here's a little bit about Grant and his rally background.
And once again, it was a strong day for Jeff David in the Porsche, driving really well out in the stages. He's in 3rd at the end of day 2.
We had a good run. We loved it, but the beginning of it especially. Then we lost the brakes for about 20 kilometres in the mid part of the stage, and then the brake, after a couple of long straights, the brake temperature came down and we got the brakes back, and so then we were able to push on again. But it was a fabulous drive. Some parts are a bit too fast, some parts are a bit rough, but you know, overall it was fun.
Well, it's certainly been a day of high drama here at the Shannons Rally of the Heartlands. We've seen some wonderful driving.
There we go.
Don't be afraid, give it a bit.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, it's a wonderful car. It really is just a beautiful car to drive. Beautifully built. You guys built this one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we built this for Jeff in early, sort of mid 2000s is when we built this thing for Jeff. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to co-drive with him. It's so much fun. We have a blast in this thing. We really do.
A lot of people talking about you guys being the ones to watch this weekend. You got a real chance.
No, it's been a long time since we've been in the car. He's just been overseas with business, so for us, it's more about coming and having a bit of fun, you know.
And putting smiles on faces.
Absolutely, and I mean, you'd be familiar. We took this to Otago and did Otago twice in this car.
Wow.
So we've had a lot of fun with this car. It is as you're now experiencing, it's a joy to drive. We really, really love it.
Now there we go. I've got to remember to keep my foot well off that throttle when I'm braking.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Like I said, it's easy. It's fun.
It's easy to drive. It's really easy to drive. It rewards a little bit of aggression.
Yeah.
But it doesn't scare you.
No, exactly.
It does what you want it to do. It really does. Wow. Maybe I was a little bit cautious with my braking there. About 3 corners too early.
That's all right.
What gear was I in there? I'm not sure. Anyway. We'll park her up here, shall we?
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.
How good's that? This video is sponsored by Duckwell Issue 22. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. Alright, I'm Lee from Duckwell Magazine. I'll see you next time.